Today we're going to be looking at 5 super SUVs that you can buy for 5 different price ranges. I'm talking about 100k, 50k, 25k, 10k, and 5k. Let's get straight into it. Do hit like if you want to see more videos like this. Subscribe as well if you are new here. Let's get into the video. For our 100k car on this list, we have the Aston Martin DBS, a more recent contender in the super SUV class, and a car that caused a bit of controversy on release, given it was Aston's first production SUV. Despite all the luxury sports, GT and supercar companies trying to make SUVs right now, they all seem pretty ashamed by it. Ferrari's Purosangue is apparently not an SUV, for example, and Aston Martin did what they could to extend out the wheelbase to the extremities on the DBS to try to make the car look less tall. It works because if you see one in person from a distance, they do look long and low, but in reality they're still pretty big cars. These come with a Mercedes 4-litre twin turbocharged V8 engine that you'll find in multiple other Astons, which puts out 542 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.3 seconds, which is actually not that quick considering the 707 version is over a second quicker to 60. They do have some great road presence and offer nice interiors too. They definitely are a nice car for the money, but as you're about to see, I really think they have further to go on depreciation, so I wouldn't get one just yet. They're listed anywhere from around £78,000 and 100 grand will get you into 2021 example with around 15,000 miles on the clock. That's insane when you consider these started at around £180,000 new back in 2021. So without adjusting for inflation or any of that stuff, these have lost £100,000 in under 4 years. Scary stuff if you're someone who bought new. That being said, the DBS is pretty new, so they've broadly been pretty good on reliability, though some owners have complained about the infotainment system feeling clunky and a bit useless. There have also been some unlucky owners who've suffered from failing suspensions and electrical issues, but these are pretty uncommon. I also spotted some owners on forums who clearly bought lemons, but again, that's just unfortunate. Let's slash that budget in half now and talk about our 50k car, the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio, a car I had the chance to drive last year thanks to my lovely friends down at the Motorland car dealership. I am not an SUV guy, but I thoroughly enjoyed driving the Stelvio Quad. My comments on it in a recent video were that basically it would be my favourite car ever if it was ever so slightly smaller, lower, and basically a hyperhatch. It would absolutely destroy everything else in the hyperhatch category, as its all-wheel drive keeps it so planted on the roads, especially in comparison to the Giulia Quad, which it shares its engine with. Though I'd obviously have the Giulia, which I've also reviewed, day to day the Stelvio would make a lot more sense and all that power is much more usable. I absolutely adore the engine in these, a 2.9 litre twin turbocharged V6 block that makes 502 brake horsepower, taking the car to 60 in 3.7 seconds, which makes it the quickest car on the list and by far, in my opinion, the best value for money. That being said, I do still think they have further to fall from a depreciation point of view, given the start at around £29,000 right now, with 50k easily getting you into a nice 2022 model with around 30,000 miles on the clock in a special colour. For an SUV, these are great looking cars too, and they stand out on the roads compared with their German competitors. Interiors can be quite simple, especially with the comfort seats, and I wouldn't say they're the best equipped SUV on the market, but from a driver's perspective, they are lovely. On reliability, in true Italian car fashion, electrical issues have caused many of the issues with these, sometimes as a result of sensors, sometimes due to simple glitches, and sometimes to do with the battery failing and causing problems with the throttle. Squealing brakes have also been a pretty common problem owners have noticed, and dealer service has also been attacked pretty heavily. We're going to cut that 50k in half again now and talk about the Audi RS Q3, the raised up version of the RS3, and a car that punches well above its weight on performance, given it sits in the subcompact SUV class. For the money and size, these are pretty well equipped, getting big 8-piston calipers for some serious braking power, a sports-focused electronic stability control, and sports-focused suspension to match. They're known to actually handle decently on the roads, though some reviews have named them a bit boring. I will say I've driven some fast Audis recently that reviews have named boring, and I've not found them boring, so it's probably each to their own. The interiors are also pretty cool on them, a good mixture of comfortable and sporty while maintaining Audi's customary minimalist or simple vibe. It was built to compete with cars like the Porsche Macan, and as it's a German car, it was built to handle very high speeds for the autobahns, which is great news. However, I would question specifically why I'd buy one of these over an RS3. These come with a cool engine, one that is in line with Quattro history, a 2.5 litre turbocharged inline-5 block that makes 305 brake horsepower, the least on this list, but it'll still get to 60 in 5 seconds, which is not bad for the money. That engine sounds beautiful too. I've always loved an inline-5, and with the right exhaust, you can get them sounding like rally cars. These start at around the £12,000 mark, and for our 25k limit, you'll get yourself into a 2015 example that's done around 50,000 miles, which is pretty sick. The issues with these will sound very normal if you know VW Group cars, as owners mention turbocharger failures, carbon buildup, and DSG issues as the main three to note. Of course, the reliability record is effectively the same as that of the RS3, given they're basically the same thing, just that the Q3 sits on stilts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you are, then do hit the like button and subscribe as well if you're new. And let me know in the comments down below, would you rather have a fast SUV or a fast estate? Let's talk about our 10k car on this video now, and a car that's pretty rare out on the roads, the Mercedes ML63 AMG, which actually sits in the mid-size luxury SUV class, but it still comes across reasonably small in dimensions just because of its age. It's got a super cool engine in it, that naturally aspirated 6.2 litre V8 block that makes 502 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.8 seconds, so it's as powerful as the Stelvio and faster to 60 than the RS Q3, despite being significantly older than both. And if we thought the RS Q3 sounded good, these things sound sublime. It's the most stunning European V8 sound out there, that beloved engine. It really is a masterpiece of the 8-cylinder variety. Before it was released, journalists were pretty upset that the first car to get that V8 was going to be an SUV, but those opinions seemed to change pretty quickly after it was released, as the ML63 made good use of that block. The only thing I'll say is that the interiors look way older than the car actually is now, which is becoming a pretty common theme with Mercedes these days. To get into one of these, you'll need to spend around £8,500 at the bottom end, and for a 10k mark, you'll be looking at a 2007 model with high mileage. Theoretically, however, you should be looking for one from late 2009 onwards, as the 2006-2009 examples were known to have a bunch of different issues, mostly electrical. Owners have also noted they are incredibly expensive to repair when things do go wrong too, even for cheaper non-AMG models. One owner I found mentioned he spent between 2 to 4k in the first year of ownership just on getting the car running smoothly, but to be honest, if that takes the price up to still less than 15k, you've got something pretty mad for the cash. And finally, we're cutting our budget in half once again to £5,000, and for that price range we'll be having the Porsche Cayenne Turbo, which might actually be the fastest SUV you can buy within this range. Let me know if I've forgotten something in the comments below. Porsche really set the standard for other luxury car brands to follow with this SUV, as they proved that you could dig yourself out of a massive financial hole by offering your customers a car to replace their typical SUVs with that had a Porsche badge attached. Other brands had already done fast SUVs, don't get me wrong, but Porsche doing it felt like a real middle finger to the purists that live for the brand that would only ever make a dynamic sports car. As a major Lotus fan, I feel those purists' pain, but at the same time we may not have seen the lovely generations of 911 and the plethora of GT products we've seen since this car's release back in 2003 if it wasn't for Porsche giving the market what it wanted. The Turbo got a boosted version of the S model's engine, a 4.5 litre twin turbo V8 to be exact, which puts out 450 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 5.4 seconds, which is pretty rapid for an SUV that's 22 years old. Speaking of, they do look a bit old now, both outside and in, but I can 100% see a day where these become respected as cool old cars. They'll run you around £4,500 at the bottom end, so for our 5k mark you'll be looking at a 2004 model with high mileage. Ball wear is known from this engine, which is of course a cause of catastrophic failures. The plastic cooling pipes are also known to fail, but the automatic gearbox and all-wheel drive system is known to be no less reliable than your average car. However, it's a Porsche, so if you do need to replace parts, don't expect prices to be similar to your average car. There you have it, 5 super SUVs from multiple price ranges that offer great performance and value for money. Thanks for watching, thanks to the patrons, and click on screen to see me driving one of these cars.